Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
Beat me if you can! Come on!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my good brother from within the ropes and the Bullet Cast. It's BrianTronic. How's it going?
It's going great, Huey. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Here we are back at it to record a new episode of In The Kliq. Here we are on a Sunday. Good to see you again and helping out on short notice. We're going to get you for 2 episodes this week. This one's going to be all about AEW, and then the other one's going to be about WWE. So much to talk about. But yeah, man, how you been doing?
I've been great. Been feeling good. You know, just it's a lot of stuff going on in the wrestling world, man. A lot of news.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You and I were sitting here and just kind of prepping before we hit the record button, and there's a lot of stuff to filter through. It's exciting because we are on the road to WrestleMania. So much to talk about in regards to that. I guess, I don't know, can we give the announcement here? I don't know, should we save it? I guess I already just teased it just now, but yes, you and I plan on being in Dallas for WrestleMania. So I'll just leave it at that. We'll get into more details as we get closer to, hopefully, fingers crossed, waiting on some confirmations and whatnot. But I plan on having some fun stuff lined up out there. Yes. But yeah, no, I love this time of the year. For us wrestling fans, it's very much like Christmas, as far as gearing up for the biggest wrestling show of the year. But just, it seems like there's so much going on, not only in WWE, but in AEW. And it was just a busy week with wrestling news. So we're going to do our best to acknowledge everything, but also, of course, talk about the highlights from Dynamite this week. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We got some clickbait news. This one in regards to Joey Janela. This week, a brand new interview that he did with Denise Salcedo, just talking about, his future and whatnot. And he revealed in the interview that he plans on not re-signing with AEW. His contract is going to be up on May 1st. And he just says he's not going to re-sign. And he just plans to kind of go back to the indie scene. And I'm sure just do a lot more stuff with GCW. And there's some more layers to that interview. But Brian, I'll start with you. Just kind of your initial thoughts on Joey Janela not returning with AEW.
I mean, it's a little surprising, but not surprising at the same time. I feel like because he hasn't been a big so when in the earlier days of AEW, I felt like he was one of those guys that was going to be like a big part of AEW in the future. Really because he was an original. He kind of. He was always, in the mix. He's had, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a match with Moxley early on, right?
That lights out match. Yeah. That was like his biggest match probably with the company.
Yeah. So, to see him kind of just go into the shadows a bit, and he showed up a little bit on AEW Dark, and had a few matches, and it looked like they were going in a direction with him at one point. I know he had the feud with Sonny Kiss, and then he got a manager or a muscle.
That's
speak,
right.
Taylor Rossi.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just kind of disappeared. I always make the joke and I say, like, his career kind of like disappeared after, Penelope Ford left him for
Kip Sabian. Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think that, man, like, you know, he was one of the originals, you know, not really talked about, not so much a pillar, but definitely someone who I didn't see, you know, leaving.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, you're right. He was one of like the OGs of AEW, like that initial roster that they created when AEW launched as a promotion back in 2019. Yeah. And I didn't know much about him. I know he had a lot of buzz from the independent wrestling scene and his spring break shows and GCW. So he very much had like an underground following. Needless to say, you know, when I saw him on TV, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is someone new. I'll give him a chance. Yeah, his matches were okay. Like, you know, they didn't really wow me. He was more, you know, he definitely was someone who liked to, he was a daredevil out there with this match with Moxley, the lights out match. He put him through, was it barbed wire, I believe? It was just like a borderline hardcore match. And yeah, he definitely got his body beat up in those matches. And, but you know, he didn't like super wow me or anything in the ring. Right. But I know he has a big following. He has a lot of people that like him. I have kind of mixed feelings about him. Just, I'll just say this. I know someone who does a podcast and reviewed one of his matches. And my friend was very critical of the match. And I trust my friend's opinion. He has a great mind for pro wrestling, and the way he analyzed the match, I listened to his podcast. I thought it was really well spoken and gave his thoughts on how, if he was booking it, how he would make it better and really tell a better story in the ring. And I actually liked it. I was like, man, I didn't even see the match, but the way he described it and the way he would do it better, I was like, man, I wish the match would have played out how he would have done it.
Right.
Come to find out, Joey Janela somehow found out about this podcast, DM my friend, got pissed off and started going off on him and then blocked him on Twitter. And I was like, oh, so I don't know how he found out. I don't know if other people heard the podcast and then like his fans just sent it to him like, hey, this guy's talking crap about you. And then Joey just started DMing my friend and then after he said whatever, like, you know, told him off, then just blocked him. And it was just like, what the hell, man? That's kind of like chicken ass. Like, okay, you're going to just randomly DM someone, call them out, and then just going to block them so the person has a chance to respond or whatever. You know what I mean? It just seems kind of, I don't want to say maybe cowardly, but it was just like, oh, come on, man. You got to have a little bit thicker skin and you listen to the podcast. My friend was giving, like, I think, positive criticism. If anything, listen to it and maybe try to apply it to your next match or moving forward, like learn from it. Like, and I listened to him. My friend was not like, you know, calling him out or talking crap about it. He was just being critical.
Right.
And so I just laugh at that. So whenever I see Joey Janela, I just think of my friend who, like, just out of the blue, Joey Janela just DM'd him and was giving him crap for it. So,
right.
So, and then the other thing too, is just, you know, when I heard this announcement that he said, I'm not going to re-sign with AEW, I kind of feel like this is a situation where someone, I guess, trying to stay face here. It's a situation where they're like, you know what? You can't fire me. I quit type of mentality. That's how I kind of interpret this whole thing. Because let's look at it. Joey Janela said it also in that interview, and I'm just paraphrasing, that it's kind of been radio silent with AEW. Like, no one's been really contacting him, not even asking about re-signing anyway. So he just, like, I guess, kind of interpret it's a situation where his contract is going to expire. They're not going to re-sign him and he's just free to go. And that's kind of been AEW's MO as of late. If it's someone that they don't plan on re-signing, they'll just let the contract expire and just let them go.
Yep.
But at the same time, it kind of sucks because they just go radio silent and they don't really kind of give them feedback. Like, hey, just want to let you know, in 2 months' time, when your contract's up, we're not going to re-sign you. They just don't talk to them. which you know, I think is a little. I wish it kind of be handled a little bit better. This is a situation where I think maybe AEW should have maybe someone in, quote, talent relations.
Yeah.
Someone that can be kind of like that middle person between the company and the wrestlers to kind of give them feedback or give them a heads up on their contract situation and whatnot. So that's a situation I see this here, because you see it kind of going on with he said Marco's stunt, got the same situation. It looked like that was going to be the case with Brian Cage, where he didn't hear nothing from the company, but they actually did pick up his extra year option of his contract. But there's been a couple other people in AEW where they just kind of went radio silent, and as soon as the contract was up, AEW just didn't bring them back. So that's what I'm getting at here in this situation. I think AEW didn't plan on bringing him back anyway, but I think for the sake of maybe his image, he's just going around telling everyone, I'm not going to resign with them. So that's my mentality. It's like, you can't fire me. I quit. So I don't know. And, you know, like as you kind of mentioned, like early on, he was kind of getting some exposure, but let's be realistic. Over the last year or two, as the company has grown and free agents became available, the roster has grown dramatically, and bigger stars, better wrestlers have come on to the roster here. And Joey Janela is just kind of fallen way to the back of the line. And as you said, it was mostly wrestling on the YouTube shows, Dark and Elevation. And I think last time he was on Dynamite or TNT or TBS was like end of last year at some point, or it was last year, I believe. So it's been a long time. So they just haven't really been using him. So I think for maybe the casual AEW fan, they're probably not going to miss him anyway, just because he didn't have that strong of an impact on the promotion. And like I said, there's been bigger stars to come into the promotion that AEW is going to focus on building up and working with and creating storylines for. So at the same time, I wish Joey Janela nothing but the best. He's already, I guess, said he's been booked for like 6 different countries coming up. And I'm sure he's going to do a lot more stuff with GCW. And he said like this is his time to kind of get back to his hustling ways and be his own boss again and book himself on the indie scene in GCW. I think he wants to go to Japan as well. So, hey, more power to him being your own boss and kind of control your own destiny that way. I wish him nothing but the best, but at the same time, for a lot of people, I don't think they're going to miss him. I know he has his fans. He has a loyal following. I'm sure they're probably going to be bummed that see him at AEW, but he wasn't really doing anything on the main shows anyway. So I don't think it's such a huge loss for the company. But I don't know. Anything else? Any lasting thoughts for you about him?
I was going to say, I felt like he could have been AEW's Lenny Lane. You know,
Lenny Lane. Oh my God.
You know, every company needs a Lenny Lane.
I'm just trying to remember. I had to look at that guy. I remember him now from WCW. Yep. That's right. 95 to 2000. Cruiserweight champion one time. That's right. Oh my God. I mean, like he had that one storyline with Sonny Kiss. They were a tag team. They had those cool little vignette videos, and then they broke apart. Joey went heel, turned on Sonny. But yeah, and I guess, but that whole program played out on what, Dark or Elevation. So
I don't think everyone saw it.
Correct. I mean, so if anything, for him, it's probably better to leave AEW because, you know, if you're going to be just on the YouTube shows only and never get a chance to be on Dynamite or Rampage on TBS and TNT respectively, you're probably better off to go tell your own story elsewhere, be a bigger fish in a smaller pond somewhere else. So like I said, I wish him nothing but the best. For me, like I said, I wasn't like a huge Joey Janela fan. So it's like, when I saw, like I said, when I heard him say, I'm not going to re-sign, I was like, okay, bye. I mean, like, that was kind of like my thinking. It was like, right. And my mentality is like the reason I kind of just think okay about him, just like you said, the way he kind of treated my friend. So that's why I'm kind of like, you know, whatever, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
Right.
So,
and with all the signings and the names that are floating around everywhere and all of pro wrestling, I think, you know, it probably wasn't the best time to say that you were going to leave if you were trying to get some, you know, some attention or traction or whatever, you know, but hey.
Yeah, no, great. Now, listen, probably everything I just said, someone's going to tell Joey and he's going to DM me. We should set a timer if he DMs me or not. Hey, if he listens to this, I would love to have. I'll interview him and be like, hey, whatever. But yeah, no. So it's God, sorry. I still can't think about it. He DM'd my friend and just went off on him. It's just,
yeah.
So it's just kind of thin skin there. But anyway,
gotta apologize.
yes. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Sorry, we didn't get to do an episode last week, which was the fallout from Revolution. But this week's episode was a lot of fun. It was on 316, aka Stone Cold Day. Oh, hell yeah. Austin 316. So yeah, it was their annual St. Patrick's Day Slam. This past Wednesday, March 16th. A lot of fun. Took place in San Antonio, Texas. And I really enjoyed this show overall. I thought it was a lot of fun. And, Brian, we didn't get to talk about this last week, but what was kind of cool is like after every major pay-per-view, AEW really kind of hits the reset button and kind of tells new stories. And so last week's episode, Dynamite, which began the fallout from Revolution, you could tell new stories were being set up, new characters, gimmicks. And this is kind of a continuation of that. How about you? Any kind of initial, just quick thoughts about Dynamite this week?
Yeah, that's a perfect example, actually. I never really thought about it like that. Dynamite was good. I think one thing that they do well after their pay-per-views is they make sure that the show after the pay-per-view is somewhat must-see. Like you can't miss it, whether it's a debut or whether it's a big match happening, or like you said, new storylines. You don't want to miss those. The beginning of storylines, especially in AEW, because they keep it going. Like it's not too much bouncing around. Like in order to understand what's going on at the end of the feud, you have to know what happened at the beginning of the feud because they always go back to it somehow, some way. So.
Yeah. And so we'll get into the main event here because it really was a story of a year-long story finally coming to an end here, which I'm very happy for. So let's go ahead and we'll go through the highlights here for St. Patrick's Day Slam. The opening match, a lot of fun. Trios match. You had the AEW World Champion, Hangman Adam Page, teaming up with the tag team champions, Jurassic Express, taking on, Undisputed Era, Adam Cole and ReDRagon. Yep. They've not officially announced a name for them, right, as their faction.
No, I just saw on the YouTube it said Undisputed Originals or something.
But then, was it Paragon? They were trying to use the term Paragon for a minute.
That one.
Adam Cole dropped it in a promo, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this their new name?" But it kind of died after kind of the backlash. People were like, "That's a stupid name."
Yeah.
But, so I thought this match was a lot of fun here. It's a continuation of Hangman, Adam Cole still battling after their championship match of Revolution that Hangman retained here. But I just, the athleticism here, Jurassic Express, as far as Luchasaurus, always, he's the king of the hot tag coming in and just laying out everyone here. Anything else from this match that you kind of enjoyed about it?
Well, they did the Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Hangman did the moonsault off the ring post. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I seen Lindsay Dorado tweet out a video of him, Kalisto, and what's the other
Lucha
guy's
House
name?
Party.
Yeah, they all did the same thing like a while back in WWE.
Oh, okay. No. Oh my God. Hold on. Lucha House Party. Who was it? You say Lindsay Dorado,
Lindsay, Kalisto,
Grand Metalik.
There we
go. That's right. But it was cool. Even they did a Jungle Boy jumped off and did a double Doomsday device. That was pretty cool as well. Yep. So towards the end, we saw Adam Cole and Page, trading shots with one another, and then Adam Page blasted Adam Cole with the dead eye. But then Page followed up with the clothesline, and Jungle Boy nailed Kyle and Cole with a double Doomsday device off the ropes, like I just said. Adam Cole then dropped his knee pad and went for the boom. I like that. It said, what was in NXT? Was it the last shot?
The last shot. Yeah.
So in AEW just calls it the boom. He tried to go for on Jungle Boy, he nailed it. And then Adam Cole scored the pin on Jungle Boy. And then, we saw Adam Cole staring into the eyes of Hangman Adam Page as he pinned Jungle Boy. So as Jim Ross pointed out, unfinished business there. So I'm kind of curious, are they going to run this back in the near future? So Double or Nothing is not till end of May. And I think April, they have a Battle of the Belts show. So I can see them having a rematch at Battle of the Belts, because let's be honest, the first Battle of the Belts back in January was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially because it was like a week prior or 2 weeks prior, they had the Hangman Bryan Danielson match. So the Battle of the Belts didn't have a lot of title defenses going on of prestige. So I could see the rematch happening on Battle of the Belts 2 this year. So, and then next up, we saw Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson with William Regal at their side, taking on members of Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta. I was going to ask you, would you like to say that the pairing of Moxley and Bryan Danielson is like the new version of Two-Man Power Trip? For the younger fans out there, Two-Man Power Trip is when Austin and Triple H were a tag team champion. It didn't last super long because Triple H got injured, right?
Yep.
So it didn't last too long, but it was like two main eventers tagging together.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. And it's funny because like it came at a weird time. Like, here I was thinking, okay, Moxley's back, he's going to somehow find himself back in the title picture. Oh, wait a minute. Bryan Danielson. Nope. He's in the title picture. He's not going anywhere. But it's interesting. They got William Regal by their side and they make a pretty good tag team. It's a mixture of styles, but it's still good wrestling. So I like it.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Like, so is William Regal officially their manager? Like, he wasn't really at their side, ringside for them. He was on the commentators booth. I don't know, but what do you think is for them as kind of like their mentor or leader? I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. It's a little weird because it's like, I think the tag team already is, weird when you just look at it. But, and then you add William Regal. It's like, okay, now this is really getting weird. I don't know long term how they would continue to make this interesting other than, just two guys and William Regal,
I think I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago. I'm okay with Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley working together for the time being. If this is a way to kind of divert them from the main event title scene, because I think a lot of fans are big fans of both of them and want to see them, either one of them, to be champion of AEW. But for right now, they don't want to overshadow Hangman's title reign or end it short. I think AEW takes a lot of pride in having long reigning champions, as we've seen between Jericho, Moxley, Kenny Omega. All three of them had pretty long title reigns compared to what we've seen in WWE in recent time.
Right.
With that being said, I think this is a good way to keep them busy away from the main event scene. And then Hangman can have his own stories, as we saw with Adam Cole. And I'm sure maybe MJF will probably eventually enter the title picture scene soon. So this is a good way to keep Bryan Danielson and Moxley busy for the time being, developing their own story here. It's interesting, though, because the way they've been kind of telling the story, having them go at it first and then they become a tag team after. And now it's like, okay, what do they do next? It's like, okay, are they going to recruit members like what Bryan Danielson first said on that promo a while back, where you see young guys on the roster that he wants to nurture and kind of become like the next, generation of American Dragons, like that killer instinct and have that same style like him. And we'll get into that in a second with the end here we saw with Wheeler Yuta. But with William Regal, I love how he went to the commentators table, though. I thought he was hilarious. I was cool. He gave acknowledgement to Jim Ross for all the help he's given him as a friend over the years. But then Excalibur, he says, "You with the mask on."
Yeah.
That was funny. And then when Best Friends came out, he called Danhausen
demon?
Demon. Who's this? Wait for demon, whatever he called him. I was laughing. That was hysterical. But it's just William Regal, this British sophisticated accent voice that he has.
Yeah.
But I love how he was analyzing the match and was explaining like their moves, Moxley and Bryan Danielson's moves in the ring. He's like, see that kick there that takes the win out, therefore makes it harder for you to breathe and fight back. So it was like really cool, like the psychology he was explaining with the moveset. Mm-hmm. That's something, I'm not to go on a tangent here, but I used to love about Nigel McGuinness, his commentary with NXT. He used to do that a lot. So I don't know if it's British people. that's their
it
style.
Must be, because even when William Regal for a period of time when he was in NXT doing commentary, he was doing the same thing. And you see him on the commentary booth and you think, wow, like I can't believe he got fired from WWE. Like he could have been used for so many different things on TV, on the many shows that they have, whether it's Main Event or NXT 2.0 or Level Up, anything, so it's just crazy. But I'm glad that he's there.
Yeah, before I forget, if you have a chance, I'm just to all the Kliqsters out there, listen to the latest episode of Talk is Jericho. William Regal is on there, and it's actually a long interview, and they broke it up in 2 parts. So part 1 came out this week. I got about halfway through it. I was at the car dealership getting my oil change. I started listening to it. So I got about halfway through it, but really fascinating. Just learning about some of his health issues over the last few years and just his history in wrestling so far. That's where I left off. I'm sure there's a lot more stories there that I haven't had a chance to listen to, but I'm with you. It's just bummer that WWE let him go, because I feel like mentally he has so much to offer as a teacher, as a coach, just his wisdom to pass down to the next generation, which is unfortunate. But I think you and I talked about this on the Revolution review. AEW picking him up, that's a huge get for them.
Yeah.
With all the young talent that they have. I don't know what the long-term goals are, if they're going to have their own version of a performance center or some sort of training facility. I know Cody Rhodes did have the Nightmare Factory, but we know Cody's not there anymore. But QT Marshall still runs that. So maybe the Nightmare Factory can still kind of be loosely their training facility. I know Dustin Reynolds, has his facility in Texas. Needless to say, I think William Regal can be a valuable asset for AEW as far as teaching the next generation.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really cool. But nonetheless, are you cool with him being the manager right now for these 2 guys? Do you think eventually he should become more of like an on-screen authority figure like he was with NXT?
I have to wait and see, I think, because he didn't come down to the ring, which, was fine, but still, like, I'm waiting to see, okay, is he going to ever come down to the ring and be ringside during a match? Because that's another, channel, I guess, for Moxley and Bryan also to have William Regal ringside. It's like having Paul Bear ringside for Undertaker. You know what I mean? Like it may take them to a whole nother level versus him being in the back or him being on commentary. So I'm interested to see how it works first, and then I'll see if I like it or not.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the potential here. All 3 of them working together should be really exciting. And I like the style. Bryan Danielson is the more technical wrestler, the ground and pound, while Moxley's more of the brawler. And that's something William Regal brought up on commentary. He's like, watch, it's 2 different styles. And it was cool. Jim Ross cited Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, kind of like similar style. So I like, for me, that's so cool when Jim Ross or whoever will explain what you see in the ring here, how historically that's been done in the past. So it's almost like a history lesson, especially for the younger fans who don't know. Maybe all they know is WWE from the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
this is a great way to kind of expose that history, that knowledge to a younger fan base, and hopefully go back and watch those matches. So it's cool that they're explaining what you see here in the ring. Older tag teams have done before. So I love the style, though. I thought the match was a lot of fun. Wheeler Yuta was getting his ass kicked, though, but he was taking those kicks in the chest, and he was taking it. And Bryan Danielson was like laying into it, enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And then, so towards the end, we saw Danielson started to kick Yuta's head in after capturing his arms, and he tagged Mox, and then Mox forced Wheeler to tap out after applying the Bulldog chokehold. And so, yeah, them as a tag team are 2-0 now. So I wonder, will they be the ones to eventually dethrone Jurassic Express as the tag team champions? I could see that maybe a double or nothing. Maybe they could be the ones to go after the tag title. So they're going to start collecting more wins on Dynamite and Rampage.
Right.
And then I wouldn't be surprised by like end of April or something. They're like saying, hey, we're due for a title shot now. So, hey, man, like I said, be the next generation of 2-man power trip. They'd be tag champions, just like Austin and Triple H were.
Right.
But what was interesting, though, Wheeler Yuta, he was walking up the ramp with best friends, and then he stopped, turned around, went back in the ring, stuck his hand out like wanted to shake it with William Regal, but instead Regal just slapped Wheeler Yuta in the face, and then Regal smiled, and Yuta got back in there into his face and said, I'll be back, and he didn't back down. So it looks like Yuta wants in on what this team is doing. I'm all for it. Remember, Bryan Danielson cut a promo and said Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, who's the third person he mentioned? Like the young upcoming technical wrestlers. Lee Moriarty.
Yep.
So what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think Wheeler Yuta is going to leave best friends and join them at this and create like a whole new little faction with them?
I don't know. See, I would hope so. But I don't know. I'm still waiting to see. Like it felt like it was going to happen. And then, I don't know if he, got their respect. I don't know if they're adding more people to their like group. Is William Regal going to be the one to recruit? Is he going to have more than one, like more clients other than just, Bryan and Moxley? Is it going to be that type of thing? Because that's another thing. They could evolve this whole situation and make it that instead of them coming to Bryan and being under Bryan and Moxley, they could be under Regal, and Moxley and Bryan could just be there to kind of, like you got, all right, we'll see what you got. We'll put you up against these guys, and if you can survive, not necessarily win, but if you can survive, and don't back down and be able to take that heat, then, we might have something.
I mean, for me, if I'm Wheeler Yuta, kayfabe, absolutely, I will rather work with William Regal, Moxley, and Bryan than best friends. No offense to best friends. I know the crowd loves them, but they are they're one. I don't know. Do you think they're above or below like the Dark Order? I don't want to say like lovable losers, but as far as, they're not going to get a lot of wins. They're kind of just floating around in the mid card scene. They have occasional rivalries and win matches here and there. But if you're able to like go under the wings of William Regal, Moxley, and Bryan Danielson, that elevates you pretty damn quickly, skyrocket you above like a lot of people, and you're in like that main event scene or you're around the main eventers. Your value becomes a lot better. So if I'm Wheeler Yuta, sorry, ditching best friends, get some new friends with Moxley and Bryan Danielson here. So, and I think it'd be cool. Maybe he gets a little bit of a gimmick change because, he's just kind of just there floating around with best friends, not doing anything. But if this can increase his value and just, puts him on a bigger platform that people want to cheer for him, I think this is great for his career. And then, maybe they get Lee Moriarty next and kind of fulfill that prophecy that Bryan Danielson put out there of guys he wants to work with. That's why I was so bummed about Daniel Garcia aligning with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, that was a switch.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a second, that whole segment. But yeah, man, we'll see how this goes. I'm excited for all this and what this can lead to. And if Mox and Bryan Danielson can help put over the younger talent, and then long term helps AEW with their roster, just creating more stars. So that'd be great. Or who knows, maybe they create a faction and they go lead off the new Ring of Honor or something. That right. Too. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And then I was going to ask you, saw FTR last week. They fired Tully Blanchard, and they cut a promo this week, kind of explaining their actions, saying that Tully just lost his focus. And then Young Bucks interrupted them. But I don't know. What'd you think about them getting rid of FTR? I was bummed.
I was surprised. I was like, I love the pairing. I disappointed. Like they only got like one title reign under Tully, right? Yeah. Like it just seemed like, I don't know if this is a good decision. Again, I felt like Tully helped them, fit them. If they weren't already, your perfect tag team, right? Like just everything about them is very much tag team wrestling. Tully made them even more tag team wrestling. So, but they made sense of it though. I did like their explanation saying that, when they didn't have the gold, Tully, he wasn't focused. And when you're not focused, you lose your job. So you get fired or whatever.
Yeah. I was just bummed because, FTR, let's be honest, they're definitely, you could tell, influenced by the Brainbusters, yes. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard as a tag team, those two guys from the Four Horsemen. So you would think they would love Tully Blanchard and would do anything to keep working with him. But I guess from a storyline standpoint, they're like, hey, we're not winning anything. We're not in the title hunt right now. And like, what's holding us back? So from a storyline standpoint, if they feel Tully's holding them back and not being focused, then I understand that. And maybe this will project them to another run for the titles. Again, that's yet to be seen. But I want to know, like, seriously though, what's up with Tully though? I wonder, will they still use him on TV for anything? I kind of wonder what's his future going to be. Because granted, this time of the year, I think a lot of I'm not speculating anything, but keep in mind, like I think a lot of contracts they signed of talent back in 2019 were 3-year deals. So I'm just speculating. I wonder, is something up? I'm just kind of curious what's going to happen this year for a lot of those people who had 3-year contracts. And I mean, I don't know what Tully Blanchard's contract status is, but I just kind of wonder what's next with him. Will they keep using him? We haven't seen Arn Anderson on TV ever since Cody's been gone. So I wonder what's next with Arn Anderson. Who knows? Maybe Arn Anderson could be their new manager or something like that. I don't know. It's really interesting seeing what they're kind of doing here. They're kind of seems like they're resetting FTR, and I really what's going to be next for them. Like, is the Pinnacle even still a thing?
Yeah, it's tough because MJF, he's got his own thing going on, and
Wardlow's out.
Wardlow's out. Sean Spears is kind of just doing his own thing. I mean, he's with MJF, but like he's just kind of floating around. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Like, I'm curious what FTR, what's next for them.
Yeah.
Next up, Chris Jericho comes out with his new faction, the Jericho Appreciation Society Commencement. This whole segment here, I love this. I just laughed. As far as, listen, I get the story here, or the character Chris Jericho, the influencer, is trying to put together.
Yep.
Let's look at what AEW is. When they first came onto the scene, they were trying to be the alternative, the opposite of WWE. They want to be known for pro wrestling and not like goofy gimmicks and storylines. They want to be more legit and serious. Initially, like that's how AEW was presented to us.
Right.
What better way to be the ultimate heel in AEW is to be the opposite of that and go against all those values I just listed off and embrace what WWE is. A sports entertainer, what Chris Jericho said. So Chris Jericho here is saying he's the influencer. Everything you guys love about wrestling is thanks to me because I'm a sports entertainer. I love this. I love this character development here. What a great way for Chris Jericho to reinvent himself. Because let's be honest, a lot of people were saying that kind of the end of the Inner Circle's run was getting kind of stale. A lot of people were getting kind of frustrated, I think, with even Chris Jericho's presentation, what he was doing storyline wise. What amazing way to reinvent himself. And I think everyone's digging this. I don't know what you think about this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You know, I question whether I was asking if people thought that it was, you know, cheap of him to go the, you know, sports entertainer route. Like, you know, I'm a sports entertainer. We're going to beat up pro wrestlers and things like, you know, but listen, Chris Jericho, first of all, I have to say this, phenomenal shape. He just continues.
Yes.
That is what you have to do. Like, you got to set the example for, you know, the young guys and even the older guys. If, you know, hey, like Jericho, people was making fun of him and all the jokes online, but, you know, I mean, you blink and he's chiseled yet again.
I'm still in shock because literally, I don't know, like the last time we saw him was on TV, you know, he didn't look as good a shape as he is now. But then again, I know he took a few weeks off. I think he touring with Fozzy. And when we did see him, he was just on commentary. So, you know, he had, you know, jacket on, like he was layered in clothes. So you didn't really see his body transforming in front of us. And then, you know, when he was on TV, like I said, he was just layered in clothes. So I'm sure he was working out that whole time. And we just didn't notice all that until one day when he comes on TV and takes off all his clothes or his top. It's like, wow, he really lost weight and looks great now. But yeah, no, as you're saying, I'm digging this.
Yeah, definitely. I think he, you know, he's reinventing himself. Like you said, he's always done that. He's been so good at reinventing himself. He always comes up with something it's almost like you get a new wrestler every single time he invents himself. and he somewhat will do the whole package. He'll do the gimmick. He'll do, you know, the music. Sometimes he'll do the look. He'll do the in-ring style. He'll do it all if he has to.
So I love the segment here. Like, you know, it's definitely kind of like another group of like odd people coming together again. You wouldn't think this is like it's like a group of misfits coming together. It's like, it doesn't really kind of seem they fit together, but I'll take it. I'll let this play out here. But I like, you know, was a Matt Lee just going on the mic and said, like, you know, Jericho, I told Jericho he should not be coming out to Judas because you guys love Judas. I told him he should not be doing it. And that's a good point because there was a lot of people that said, you know, if he's going heel again, they need to take away Judas because the crowd sings along and it's turned into such a babyface song for him.
Yeah.
You know, if he's a heel, you don't want to give the fans what they want. You got to play it up as a heel. But, you know, he did say, you know, but Chris Jericho's, you know, said we need to do this. So you can thank him. So just to feed Chris Jericho's ego, it's like, you got to thank him for letting him keep Judas as a song.
Yeah.
So, you know, in Chris Jericho's mind, he's like, you know, the perfect person or, you know, that everyone loves him. And so they're all praising him and says, you know, we all came together because of him. He does an amazing job. And I like Jericho's promo. He just said, you know, talking about Daniel Garcia and his real life accident, that he donated money to help him and his friends, you know, with medical bills. And Daniel Garcia thanked him. And when Jericho kept saying he was a sports entertainer, Daniel Garcia grabbed the mic and said, well, I want to be a sports entertainer too. And I will admit, part of me was like, because it's so odd because Daniel Garcia, the way he's been presented as this like baby Bryan Danielson, like the next generation Bryan Danielson, technical wrestler. So I assume he was going to maybe try to partner with Bryan Danielson and join that faction with Moxley, but it looks like for the time being, he's going to have this storyline going, which, okay, I guess I'm cool with, but I hope it doesn't last too long because I still want him to go with Bryan Danielson and Mox and Regal and all that.
Maybe Chris Jericho's getting them ready to go back to WWE. Maybe he's trying to give them sports entertainment tips so that Vince looks over there and he's like, hey,
this guy, he's named Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just like, I saw this. I was like, man, but I guess that's kind of the point, though, is Daniel Garcia. He's not just doing what the fans want. He's playing a heel and embracing the sports entertainer, a role that no one thought he should be doing. He should be the technical, like I said, next Bryan Danielson here. So, and then I laughed when Chris Jericho said, in regards to 2.0, he said, these guys lost their job, but if it wasn't for my former best friend, Kevin, wink to the audience, Kevin Owens. He called me up and told me to have him on Talk is Jericho. They came to my house, did an interview, and they got hired by AEW. So thank you to me. Yeah. So he's taking all the credit for that. So I just like how they acknowledge the thing about AEW that I love is, sure, they're only a 3-year-old company at this point. They don't have a lot of history. So I like how they acknowledge history of these wrestlers past and other promotions because, for a lot of them, that's all we know them for is stuff in the past. And then they're not afraid to acknowledge it. Unlike WWE, all they ever talk about is just WWE only. It's like their own little bubble. That's it. You don't talk about anything they did in the past. So I enjoyed that part here. And then the other thing, though, is he renamed 2.0 their new names. Let me find the names here. I don't want to screw it up. He's like, I go by my real names here. Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, Jake Hager. And then what are the names here? I don't want to screw this up. Oh my God, where is it? But also, Jericho acknowledged like the guys in Inner Circle just were not like respecting him anymore and appreciating everything he's done for him. Where are the names? Oh, and then on the website here, I'm looking here. It was these over the top names that are like 3 to 4 names long. I can't,
it was like Jeff
Magic
something.
Magic something King or oh my God, how can they not put this on the website? Hold on. Let me 2.0 new AEW names. Let me see if that gives it. Let's see what culture has it here. Okay. Big Magic Matt Lee becoming Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and Jeff Parker becomes Cool Hang Angelo Parker.
Their real names, right, Chris?
Where they come up with these names here. Oh, that's hysterical. So anyway, I just love this. So I love what the gimmick is here. They are embracing sports entertainment, embracing everything that AEW fans hate in WWE. They're embracing it. So as a heel, I love it. Yeah. So next up, we saw Scorpio Sky defend the TNT Championship against Wardlow here. I thought it was a pretty good match here. Unfortunately, it just kind of played out as we all thought. MJF ultimately came out, interfered. Sean Spears came out as well, distracted Wardlow. MJF comes out, pushes Wardlow into the post. Scorpio Sky gets the roll-up victory, retains the TNT Championship. Then they all beat down. Wardlow in the ring was like, 4-on-1, 5-on-1?
Yeah.
And then we saw Dan Lambert get a payday from MJF as a thank you, I guess, to beat down MJF. I don't know. How do you think this whole segment played out here?
So it played out exactly how I thought. Okay, there's no way they're going to take the title off Scorpio this early. Mm-hmm. There's no way they're going to have him beat Wardlow clean 1, 2, 3. So I was expecting a run in from MJF here. The one thing that was really interesting was the involvement from Scorpio. You know, you would kind of think that, you know, you'd want to, Dan Lambert would want to get Scorpio out of there. Hey, you won the match. Let's get out of here. Let's go, which ended up happening. Right. But at first, you know, they kind of helped him out a little bit. Wardlow seemed like he was, look, Wardlow's special. Wardlow's going to be, he just, everything about him, especially during that segment, was like, okay, he's got it. He's going to be good. He's going to be fine. But yeah, it was cool. A little cheesy to, I mean, kind of like, I guess you can say they booked themselves into a corner there, because I don't know if I would have wanted Scorpio's first title defense to end that way for him.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, I believe he's still undefeated. He's on a little bit of an undefeated streak.
I mean, Dan Lambert keeps saying, "Oh, you're undefeated. You haven't lost in over a year." Well, it's like, yeah, I think he only wrestled twice on Dynamite in the last year, and it's been all like on Dark and Elevation, and it's like. And what we think of Dan Lambert wearing the other TNT championship, the interim title.
Yeah, so I seen that Scorpio had said that he was gonna give it to Dan to hang up, you know, at American Top Team, but then he came out with the belt on, and I was like, of course he did.
And you know, for anyone who watched, was it Hidden Treasures on A&E, WWE's Hidden Treasures? As we saw, Top Dollar, which is Francis, is AJ Francis, right?
Francis, yep.
You know, he was looking for one of the titles, and he went to Dan Lambert's house because Dan Lambert has a huge collection of legit championships from different wrestling promotions over the years. He has a huge collection. And so I kind of imagine, I wonder if he's going to get that TNT championship and add it to his collection. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it ultimately ends there, like in real life. But
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, this was the obvious outcome. MJF getting involved, interfering, costing Wardlow the championship, because he did cost his match against CM Punk here. And I'm glad for Scorpio Sky. I'm like you. I don't want him to lose the title after 1 week, one title event, and lose it. I want him to have a lengthy title run with it. I think he deserves it. Now for Wardlow, he can turn his attention to MJF. And I'm sure this is going to lead to a match at Double or Nothing. I think that's where it's going to lead towards. Now, granted, that's 2 months away. Hopefully, you know, they can keep things interesting for the next 2 months. But they did with MJF and CM Punk. But did you notice when he was getting beat down, he was like getting outnumbered by everyone? The crowd was chanting CM Punk, CM Punk. I'm glad CM Punk did not come out to the ring, and Tony Schiavone acknowledged this. Technically, Wardlow has no friends, because for the last 2.5 years, he has been working for MJF, and he's been like his muscle, beating up everyone. So everyone technically hates Wardlow, even though he just turned babyface within the last 2 weeks. He technically has no friends, and CM Punk has no reason to go out there and help him, because he powerbombed him 5 times last month in their match with each other.
Yep.
So technically CM Punk owes nothing to Wardlow.
Nope.
He has no reason to come out. So I love that story beat. It's like the little details. Like, no, I mean, sure, I guess CM Punk could have came running out and just fight MJF, but he already won at Revolution. You don't need to come out there and help him. So for Wardlow, I think, one, trying to get his revenge on MJF, but two, as a babyface, I think he's got to find some friends again. I think he's got to kind of prove, you know, he can trust people, or people can trust him. So that's going to be a separate story beat, I think, moving forward. Is, you know, he's going to have to go around, maybe help other people, kind of earn people's respect, kayfabe, having friends, and kind of having some allies. Or at the same time, he can just be a badass lone wolf. He is a big monster himself, and that might be smart as well, since he's such a big guy. To kind of bring him down to earth a little bit, is this all his battles, he's just going to be won against a bunch of people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Wardlow's character development moving forward with all that stuff. Next up, it was kind of announced last minute, but the Hardys making the big television return together against Private Party. So I don't know about you, but they announced this on the weekend, I believe, prior to.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked. I was like, whoa, I mean, that's a big deal. The Hardys' first match back together in years.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we didn't talk about this last week. So last week's episode of Dynamite, Jeff Hardy makes his big return after Matt Hardy's group faction with Andrade turns on him, beats him up. Jeff Hardy comes out, makes the save. It's official. Jeff Hardy's in AEW. Your thoughts on that?
It's good. It's a little sad, but
how come? How are you sad?
Well, because I liked him in WWE. Just got no more words back. Yeah. I was looking forward to a potential Jeff Hardy, Roman Reigns, program. But hey, Jeff Hardy, he you can't go wrong with him and Matt being together as the Hardy Boys. So I'm glad that he, is with AEW. It quickly happened. It wasn't something that, we're speculating on for months and months and months. Yeah. Just like, okay, I can go now. Like, I'm free to go. All right, I'm going to go to AEW with Matt. So it was cool. And the match happened quick too.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So last week when Matt was getting beat up, Jeff, the Hardy Boys music hit. So AEW got the rights to the song Loaded. Technically, WWE never had the rights to it. It was just licensed out. And I think partly it's because, if I remember correctly, it's like a generic rock song that WWE didn't create. It was used in, sports shows and other events. It's like a generic rock song that's been used in television for years. Like I think it was in even some old WWE tapes in the 90s and stuff. So I think that's why AEW was able to kind of get the licensing rights to it, because WWE doesn't own it. So it just adds more familiar flavor for the Hardy Boys in AEW. It's like, oh my God, it feels like it's WWE, even though it's technically not. But it was funny when Jeff comes out, he's making the save, the music hits, he stops and does the juke, as Matt calls it, his little dance. And then he starts running to the ring. So everyone's laughing, the memes. So it's like, even though his brother's getting beat up, he still had to dance to make his return, big return, his debut. But Matt, I think, so Matt Hardy's podcast, Jeff was on, and they kind of explain it. It's like, Matt said, I told Jeff to do it. Jeff did not want to dance, but Matt said, go ahead, dance at your big return, your big debut in AEW. And it's the big return of the Hardy Boys back, or the Hardy Brothers back together. Go ahead, dance, enjoy the moment. And he said, so technically, when the music hits, everyone beating up Matt should be looking up the ramp anyway to see who's coming out. So therefore, the beatdown on me is going to stop for a few seconds. So that is your window to dance anyway. So I was like, okay, I believe that excuse. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, with that being said, they announced their first match back together. And I was like, whoa, not really a lot of build up to it. They're just like, oh yeah, this is happening this week. I'm like, oh, okay. The match itself was good. Matt, you can tell he's a little bit older. Yeah, moves a little bit slower. Jeff, got the hot tag here. Matt took the beat down the majority of this match, and then Jeff got the hot tag and came in and got the win here. But Brian, yourself, any other observations with the match?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Matt does indeed look a lot slower compared to Jeff. Jeff obviously isn't the same as it used to be either, but a lot more mobile, a lot more quick and explosive than Matt. I appreciate Matt, the nostalgia. He said on, I forget whether it's a Twitter or Instagram post, that the shirt that he was wearing was indeed the shirt that he wore in the photo shoot, I think back in '99 when they won the tag titles. So for WWE. So, he said it's the same shirt. And I'm like, whoa, it didn't look like this. Didn't look like it, but okay. Yeah. And he's balding. I didn't realize, because usually he has his hair in a ponytail most of the time. And so I was like, oh, okay.
That's getting a little thin up there. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are hardy men now.
Mature men.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
and then Jeff, going back to just real quick, I want to say going back to when he spoke about his WWE return and how big that was for him and how passionate he is about the fans and their involvement and what they do to him, what the crowd reaction, like what that does to him. You know, it's almost like how I describe my fandom, you know, whenever I'm watching a wrestling event or anything like it. It's just you get so pumped up, you get goosebumps. And, you know, and for him, you can see the look on his face, even when he came down for the save the week prior. He's so nervous. I know on Being the Elite, they showed him backstage, and right before he went out, he just screamed. And he did the same thing before they came out at WrestleMania 33, I think it was. So yeah, it's just really cool. You know, Jeff deserves that moment. He's put his body on the line so much, and I think he's a legend, you know. And so it was cool to see him back in there. He got or Isaiah Cassidy, I think. Yeah, he took all of that swanton bomb.
Yeah, dude, that swanton Jeff barely kind of turned in time. Like he landed kind of straight down still. I was like, ooh, I was a little nervous, just, you know,
kind of like on his shoulders almost. Yeah.
You know, with Big E's accident last week, that's kind of fresh in my head when I saw that. He didn't like turn all the way. But okay match. Like I said, Matt was a little slow, took the majority of the beating, but then Jeff got the hot tag. Crowd went wild. God, it just shows how much the crowd loves Jeff Hardy.
Right. And wait, I have to say this. So me and Charlie were watching the match, right? And I told him, I said, when you watch so many Hardy Boy matches, you know, Matt's Jeff's gonna get the hot tag. Jeff's gonna come in. He's gonna hit him with the forearm. He's gonna do a atomic drop, and then he's gonna. And he did that, and I was laughing so hard. Like Charlie was like, "How'd you know that?" I was like, "I've been watching him forever."
I mean, really, it's been like 20 years. I mean, 20 plus years. God. And another thing, you know, like I said earlier, Talk's Jericho had William Regal on. This week, Matt Hardy's podcast with John Alba, he had Jeff Hardy on. A lot of insight there, and there's a lot of info that came out from that. Maybe we'll discuss more of that on a future podcast. But it was really cool to hear them talk and how much this moment meant to them and stuff. And, you know, they kind of explained a lot of things that were going on with Jeff and his release and all that stuff. So I definitely recommend listening to it. I got probably about halfway through that as well. A lot of great insight there. So after the Hardys get the win, Andrade and the rest of the crew, Butcher and Blade, come out and they all beat up them. Sting and Darby Allin come out and make this save. And they said, hey, now it's even. Let's have a 4-on-4. So I guess next week it's going to be a Texas Tornado match on Dynamite, which is interesting, though. Sting and Jeff Hardy in the ring together again. Yep. Last time we saw that was in TNA, and we all know how that played out when Jeff was under the influence. Terrible match with him and Sting. I doubt they're going to acknowledge that, but for us fans, it's kind of interesting to see Sting and Jeff Hardy in the ring together again. So that's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic. I don't know how they're going to handle that, if at all, but just something to keep your eye out on for. But
yes, definitely.
But nonetheless, it's just cool to see the Hardys back together.
Yep.
You know, big deal and stuff. So everyone's very happy.
I know Darby's having a ball. You know,
all right.
He's got the Hardys, Sting. Like,
well, that's the thing. Remember when Darby started AEW, they're all comparing him as a young Jeff Hardy because like the Daredevil putting his body on the line. And now they're working together. So it's awesome. And like I said, Jeff Hardy is so over still. The crowd loves him. The crowd loves the Hardys. Yeah. And their goal is they want to be known as the greatest tag team of all time. So I wonder, the matches that they could have now, the Young Bucks, I know they've had matches with them already, but yes, Private Party, FTR, The Acclaim, Jurassic Express, maybe something with Christian again. I mean, there's so many fresh matches with tag teams they can do here. And then who knows? I mean, I think if I remember in that podcast, Matt Hardy's podcast, they said, I think there's still more stuff from the Broken Universe that they want to tell. So maybe they'll tap into that again. Maybe we do get Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero again at some point. So theoretically, between all tag team matches and them maybe individually, there's a lot of stories that they can tell over the next couple years, theoretically. And then who knows? Maybe Jeff, maybe they will put another title on him. I don't know. It's exciting, but at the same time, as exciting to see Jeff there, it makes you think about some of the younger talent who've been there since day one. They gotta go way back in the line again, and that's just another issue with the big roster that they have. But as fans, we get to see all these stars anyway, so we win no matter what. All right, main event time for the AEW Women's World Championship. Steel cage match. Champ Britt Baker defending against Thunder Rosa. A year in the making. Their previous match, the Lights Out match, was at St. Patrick's Day Slam last year. So, like I said, this has been brewing for the last year. Was it last month? Last month, Britt Baker got pinned by Thunder Rosa. Was a 3-on-3 match. Was a go-home show for Revolution. The story that they've been telling is Britt Baker has been getting her wins with the help of with Rebel and Jamie Hayter. So as a heel champion, rightfully so, she needs help to win. Thunder Rosa was able to win cleanly over Britt Baker on that 3-on-3 match with no interference. So the story that they're telling is Britt Baker wins with help, outside interference. Thunder Rosa, when it's just one-on-one, she can pin Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Going to Revolution, we saw Britt Baker win with some help. And then 2 weeks later, it's got the rematch here. And I'm glad that they set the stipulation steel cage match. So that way it had to be one-on-one. No outside interference can come in. Brian, your thoughts on this main event here?
So I have to be honest and real about the main event.
Please. The Kliqsters want it.
It was good. It was, the hype was there, but the match itself, I don't know, man. I just felt like there was still a little bit of, miscommunications at some points. A lot of waiting around for certain spots. You can tell that, they were communicating a lot, as they should be, but like you could tell that they were communicating a lot. It was kind of like,
real quick before I forget that when Britt Baker super kicked the male ref.
Yeah,
you heard, I watched it again. You clearly heard him say, Britt, over here, or wherever he said, like, here. And he stood there and just wait for the kick, but he called to her. Thunder Rosa stood there, and then Thunder ducked, and then Britt Baker hit the super kick. But he could see clear, the camera shot caught him mouthing, right here, hit me, or whatever. But so sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no. And it's like, you can kind of tell it's like, okay, going to this spot. Okay. All right. Boom. All right. Now let's get up and go over to this spot. Boom. Okay. Now let's do this one. Bam. Like, for example, with the chair spot when Thunder Rosa was up on the top rope and Britt Baker was setting up all the chairs, and then, she's setting them up, obviously trying to get them in good position, safe position, I guess, too. She goes up on the top, and then Thunder Rosa pushes her off and she falls. And then they had the tax spot.
Yeah.
And, Thunder Rosa slammed her or power bombed her on the tax. And then Britt just kind of no-sells it and rolls on the outside, grabs a chair, and then hits her with, you know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that made it a little hard to watch. I know a lot of people, especially online, were speaking about how the crowd kept them going and the crowd was just so into it, and that makes a difference, obviously. A crowd is everything. Even if the match isn't that great, the crowd will make anyone feel like, oh man, that was so good, because you feel the energy. But yeah, this match, I obviously think the Lights Out match was way better than this one. But we all knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. So a couple things. One, I'm glad Thunder Rosa won the championship here. One, in her hometown, or current hometown. She did live in the Bay Area for a long time, so we still can claim her as a Bay Area girl. Right. But yeah, so to win it in her current hometown in San Antonio, Texas, her family and friends were there. Big moment. Plus, that entrance was awesome with the band.
Yep.
And you can see even her emotion coming out. You can kind of tell, all right, she's getting a big entrance here. That's kind of foreshadowing. All right, she's probably going to win the title tonight. They're giving her the big entrance. The crowd's super into it. It's in her hometown. It's a Hollywood ending here coming up. It makes perfect sense. And
Definitely.
I was kind of bummed that she didn't win at pay-per-view, but then again, I thought about it more. It's like, well, if she would have won a Revolution, so much happened on that show. It was a stacked card. It just would have been kind of lost in the shuffle versus winning on episode of Dynamite. It becomes a bigger deal. I mean, no one's overshadowing her. It becomes the biggest moment of the night. Yep. And for her, she gets more time, I think, to shine in the spotlight and not let anyone else kind of overshadow that. So I was like, that was cool. And also keep in mind, AEW, their pay-per-views are every 2 to 3 months. So there's a lot of downtime between Dynamite and Rampage. So I'm glad they do these big championship matches and have a title change on cable TV. That way it kind of adds that reputation of, you're going to see big moments here. I think we're so conditioned with WWE. It's like they save their big moments for the pay-per-views, but the pay-per-views are once a month. So they're much more frequent. So therefore, sometimes episodes of Raw or SmackDown just feels like filler because we know nothing major happens. For Dynamite, it adds more, reinforces the reputation. It's like, no, you need to turn into Dynamite or Rampage. Big moments can happen here, especially in between pay-per-views. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. Like, this is a big moment. It's going to happen here. And hopefully, maybe moving forward will kind of boost, viewers to tune in. That like, hey, you want to tune in because next time there's a title event, something major could be happening there. You don't want to miss it. And plus, I don't know about you, man, but okay. I know like Revolution got a lot of pay-per-view buys for them. I don't know the exact number, but I kind of want to know what gets more eyeballs, a pay-per-view or an episode of Dynamite on cable TV that averages about 1 million viewers.
Right.
So I'm just guessing that, winning the title on Dynamite actually could have been more eyeballs watching her there versus the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So that's another reason why I think sometimes it's actually better to win on cable TV because I think more people will be watching you. So, so nonetheless, like I said, that's kind of my thoughts going into this. Now, for the match itself, I love Thunder Rosa. She's such an explosive performer. I love when she gets momentum going. She just lays it in there and she like flies all over the place. She's awesome. That's my issue sometimes with Britt Baker. I think she lacks that explosive offense.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes she kind of walks around and just like I'm waiting for something big to come out of that. She doesn't really deliver that sometimes. She does put her body on the line, that the turnbuckle spot where they fell back. She fell on all those stacked chairs. The thumbtacks. Don't get me wrong. I know she puts her body on the line. It hurts. Definitely. I respect that.
Yeah.
But as far as explosive offense, I feel like sometimes she's going through slow motion. It feels like. Is that safe to say? Yeah,
I agree. And you can see it in this match. And, I know I joke and I say that, she couldn't lace up the Queen City's boots ever, but no, I really do feel like that. It's I know Britt Baker is great. She, she's been their women's champion for a long time, the longest, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No,
is that Rio?
No, the one who just came back. Shida? Yeah, she's still the longest. Yeah, she was like 300. Okay. I actually was looking that up earlier. She's like 372.
Wow, why does it feel like Britt Baker's been champion forever?
Britt Baker, she won at Double or Nothing last year and jumped to March. So what? Just 10 months, almost 10 months. But Shida was over a year because she took a member off Nyla Rose. Double or Nothing 2020,
yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. No, but I think that Britt, she's got the charisma.
Absolutely, the mic skills.
The mic skills. I love her antics, the things that she does when she's in the ring, looking at the camera, taunting
as a heel. Yes, so good.
Absolutely. And I felt like she's had that even. I mean, I remember the first time I saw her was at All In, And, you know, I was like, okay, she's got it. And then I was questioning like, yo, wait, she's real dentist. Like, okay, but she actually wrestles too. Okay. Then she's good. But yeah, she's missing something. She's missing that, you know, that fighting style, that quickness, that explosiveness, that constant, like, I'm like, there's no, like, she's the champion, right? There should be more urgency, I feel like, in the ring to you know, to get the job done and you know, continue to prove, you know, that you're one of the best.
It's I'm trying to think how I want to say this is to, like you said, respect to her. Like, she still keeps, you know, her practice as a dentist.
Yeah.
So when she's not wrestling, she's working in her dentist's office. That's awesome. Yeah. I just wonder, I would love to ask her next time I've ever interviewed her, like, how do you balance that? And when do you have time to kind of maybe work on your craft, your wrestling skills and practice? Because I kind of wonder how much. It sounds like she's really busy as it is.
If there's ever even some time there to do that,
to practice, you know? Like, because like her skills are kind of still just more or less the same over the last year. Like, she didn't really, I feel like at times didn't really improve from an in-ring performance. Like I said, she's great on the mic. She has an amazing look. She has like a great total package as a performer. Like I said, I'm a big fan of hers. But like, her in-ring skills hasn't really improved. And it's like, you can get by in other ways as a performer. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to necessarily be the best wrestler, but if you make it up in other ways, you're still must-see TV. And she is. But I just wonder, you know, between wrestling, being a dentist, you know, having a relationship with Adam Cole, like all that stuff, I wonder, when does she find the time to kind of work on her in-ring skills? And for me, like, when I watch her, though, there are moments in the match where she's really good, and there's other moments where it's just, you know, not so smooth. I don't want to say necessarily like botchy, but yeah, it's not a perfect in-ring performance. And so I just, like I said, I don't want no one to misinterpret my words here, but I just said, I want to see her kind of keep growing as an in-ring performer and improve. And this is something I've noticed from other people, just talking to friends and, you know, reading stuff on Twitter. I think a lot of people like her as an in-ring performer, but there's some things about her in-ring skills she lacks. And I hope that's something she can improve still over time. And I'm hopeful for. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Needless to say, I think Thunder Rosa really carried this match with her explosive skills, like I said earlier. But there were times, though, even Thunder Rosa, like, her punches were kind of weird. Like, she wasn't really laying into it. It looked really like soft thrown punches. Like, it was like, kind of took me out of it. It's like, kind of lay into it a little bit more to make it believable. Nonetheless, though, the thumbtacks, I also kind of think they kind of overdo the thumbtack spot now in AEW.
Yeah. I
was like, you know, they kind of overdo that. I did like, though, when Britt Baker was going for, I was going to say the mandible claw. She put the glove on.
Yep.
I like how Thunder Rosa counter by biting her hand. Like, I haven't really seen that before. Yep. And then Britt Baker trying to counter with the other hand. So I thought that was a cool way of countering. And then, you know, Ref Aubrey coming in, making a save and trying to, after the other ref got knocked out with the super kick. So no, I thought towards the end, the match started really picking up.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And then, you know, ultimately, you know, all the chairs laying there, the thumbtacks, and, Thunder Rosa made the big comeback and hit the Thunder Fire driver into the thumbtacks, pinned Dr. Britt Baker. Thunder Rosa is your new AEW Women's World Champion. I got goosebumps watching her, like, tear up, crying, just so happy. Dustin Rhodes came out, gave her a hug. She went outside the ring, hugged her family and friends. It was such a great feel-good moment. And that's when I realized it was good that they let her win here and not the pay-per-view. That way it was a more bigger moment for her to shine and just all the focus can be on her. I don't know. Anything else from that? The ending there stood out for you?
I loved the ending. I would have loved, instead of Dustin, I would have loved for the women to come in and embrace Thunder Rosa. Maybe a mixture of, you know, the locker room, but also some of those girls in there that Britt Baker has also beat too, kind of like a celebration, like, hey, you did it. And I don't know, everything about the ending, especially with the emotion, it felt like, I just had it in my head. It just left me. Almost Mick Foley-ish winning the WWE Championship. Yeah. Just kind of like,
it was a long time coming.
Yeah, definitely. And so
I think a lot of people for the longest time, for the last year, I was like, okay, we could tell Britt Baker's gonna have a long title reign. Who's gonna be the one person to beat her? And I think everyone agreed it had to be Thunder Rosa, especially just Thunder Rosa was always getting kind of cheated out of a victory over Britt Baker. It just made sense over the last year that Thunder Rosa was going to be the one to do it. So I think we're happy for her. But let me ask you this, though. Now moving forward, looking ahead, what's next for Thunder Rosa as far as opponents go? For Britt Baker, I wonder, will they keep her off TV for a bit? Just like Kenny Omega, she had a long title reign. Now, Kenny Omega is injured, recovering from surgery and stuff. So he's going to be off the shelf for a while, even a little bit longer now. But for Britt Baker, she's been on TV a lot, or as champion, or for almost a year. Do you keep her off TV for a bit, let people miss her, and then she comes back down the road and kind of has a big return of sorts? And then also, who do you think should be the next opponent for Thunder Rosa?
Yeah, I know I may be overbooking here, but I sort of feel like it'd be nice to see her come back. Maybe, I don't know, do something with her and Jamie Hayter and Rebel. And maybe, disband that little circle. And then you kind of send Britt Baker off. That way it doesn't leave Jamie Hayter and Rebel with like nothing. Maybe Rebel can be alongside Jamie Hayter.
Gotcha.
It just gives some type of direction. Maybe, hey, we don't need to be with you anymore. You're not the champ anymore. Like, we're going to go off and do our own thing now, something like that. And as far as the next challenger, I don't know, maybe I almost feel like what they might do is bring in another woman, a signing possibly.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like that's something that might happen, but I don't know. You got Ruby Soho. I don't know what she's got going on right now.
Yeah. She's been on TV for a minute. I was thinking, okay, it looks like Layla Hirsch is being built up as like a heel opponent. Now, she lost to Red Velvet on Rampage this week. Maybe Red Velvet gets a shot, but it's a babyface versus babyface. I don't know if you want to go with that dynamic.
Right.
Chris Statlander, we saw, kind of got a little bit of a different look now. She, saw one video vignette. She like wiped off her makeup, and then we saw her reappear on Rampage helping out Red Velvet against Layla Hirsch. She has kind of like an all black outfit now and like a little bit of a different makeup, still kind of embracing the alien look, but she's like a little more serious. But she saved Red Velvet, so I guess she's still technically a baby face. I mean, Ty Conti's had 2 title shots, right? If I remember correctly, one TBS championship and one women's championship at 2 different pay-per-views. So I don't know if Tay Conti deserves another title shot. You want to give someone else an opportunity. Jay Gargill is busy, being TBS champion. Nyla Rose has not been around much at all.
Nope.
Serena Deeb is probably someone that can go after Thunder Rosa, but it looks like her and Sheeta are going to probably have one more match because Sheeta's back from rehabbing.
You could do Mercedes Martinez.
So I can maybe see Serena Deeb,
yeah,
be the one to maybe challenge Thunder Rosa next. I would love to see that match. And you're looking else, who else is out there? I wonder if AEW will sign Tony Storm. I know Tony Storm's making a lot of money off her new OnlyFans account. Yeah, but I would love to see Tony Storm in AEW. I think she'd be an amazing challenger.
Or even Ember Moon.
Ember Moon. Yes, I would love to see Ember Moon, or I guess she's going to be what, Athena now. But yeah, those two right there, Toni Storm and Ember Moon, if they can come in AEW, that'll add so much more incredible depth to that women's division. Yeah. But yeah, maybe Ruby Soho, but she's a baby face. I'm trying to think of heels. Yeah. Serena Deeb is what comes to mind. Nyla Rose, but she's already been kind of the person that they go to as a heel monster to challenge them.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else that be
Anna Jay.
Maybe. I'm trying to think who else it's Serena Deeb's the first one that comes to mind.
Serena Deeb, most likely, it's the better fit, I would say. Out of all the names.
But nonetheless, super happy for Thunder Rosa. Love that she's champion. Can't wait to see what she does next. I think she's going to have some incredible matches, and looking forward to see what opponents come her way over the coming weeks and months. I hope she has a long title reign for herself. So, all right. On that note, let's start wrapping things up. Brian, where can the Kliqsters find you online?
Kliqsters, you guys can find me at BrianTronic on Twitter and Instagram. Okay. Kliq.
I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83. For everything else, remember to subscribe to In The Kliq wherever you get your podcast at. Follow us on social at In The Kliq. You can email me inthekliq@gmail.com. Watch our videos on YouTube. Please subscribe there. Give our videos a like, leave a comment, share the podcast. We, of course, appreciate all the support. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.